What's up, lads? So the Suicide Squad just came out like 2 weeks ago, and with its almost universal acclaim and praise, a lot of people recently have been asking, what is the best DCEU film? And I thought to myself, you know, what a great question, so I decided to dedicate this video to taking a walkthrough through the catalog of films a part of the DCEU and ranking them accordingly. Now, disclaimer, this is a ranking of the DCEU, meaning all the films that are set within DC's broken, still kind of undisclosed timeline, which means you will not be seeing Joker or the Dark Knight trilogy anywhere on this list because it's technically not a part of the DCEU main timeline. It is strictly these 11 films. Thus, with that being said, and with all the disclaimers out of the way, let's roll into it. There's a lot of debate over what the worst DCEU movie is, and not in a good way, like with Marvel, where the worst you'll come across. It's like The DCEU debate rages on because they have, on more than one occasion, made the worst kind of comic book film. Just absolute dog shit, an abomination towards cinema, just the total ass cream of society. And in my opinion, the film that hits the hardest when it comes to violating my constitution as a person is Joss Whedon's Justice League. I hate this film for a lot of reasons. I think the plot itself, for one, is just so boring and predictable, and sadly enough, that's exactly what they were going for, because the bad critical reception from Zack Snyder's previous two films scared Warner Brothers so much that they buckled under the pressure and asked Joss Whedon to make the safest kind of conventional nonsense, for the simple fact of trying to piss off as little people as possible. There's no vision, there's no sense of individuality, there's no style, the entire third act is a gross red for some reason, and Superman's mouth, oh my god. Do you guys know the reason behind Superman's awful baby mouth, by the way? It's because during the reshoots of this film, Henry Cavill was working on Mission Impossible Fallout, which required him to have a mustache, and Paramount would not let him shave it for any reason. So instead of waiting a few months for them to wrap up production, DC instead decided to just CGI over the mouth because, and get this, man, because they wanted to release the film in time for their Christmas bonuses. Oh my god. But none of that, and I mean none of that, means anything in light of the very reason why this film exists to begin with, because Warner Brothers took advantage of Zack Snyder's family tragedy and used it to change his vision and make it their own. They wanted to push him out, and they found the worst excuse possible to do so. Absolutely despicable. This movie's just a big fat mess, man. The villain sucks, the characters are bland, hollow shells, the plot is stupid, the cinematography is gross, and it doesn't even feel like a real movie, man. It just feels like something mimicking the likeness of a real movie. Blech. I will always think it'll be the worst DC film. Even if something worse comes along, I still might just rank this last out of principle because of what they did to Zack Snyder. I fucking hate this movie, man. When thinking of the worst DCEU film, I feel like it's always a contest between Joss Whedon's Justice League and this film, 2016's Suicide Squad. And although nothing will be as disgusting as what Warner Brothers did to Zack Snyder during the production of Justice League, this still equally as so deserves to be discussed in how awful Warner Brothers treated their directors. The story goes that David Ayer made a cut of Suicide Squad, something he described as a soulful drama. Was it any good? Who knows, man? Given his latest track record since this film, I am doubtful, but I guarantee it would have been better than this. After he finished his cut, Deadpool came out and it rocked the world. Not only did it garner an outstanding critical reception, but it also became the highest grossing rated R film of all time. This caught Warner Brothers' attention, and they decided that they needed to make the Suicide Squad exactly like Deadpool. So they cut David Ayer's movie up into a bunch of little fucking pieces, added a shitload of copyright popular music over the scenes, and barfed out this monstrosity. And it was almost unwatchable. The only reason why I rate this slightly higher than Justice League is because occasionally you can see little droplets of David Ayer's original vision spread throughout the film. Sometimes the cinematography is cool, sometimes the performances are good, and sometimes I somewhat enjoy what the characters are going for, but that's it, man. I am scraping the bottom of the barrel to find good things to talk about with this film. The truth of the matter is that it's absolute shit, and realistically speaking, equally as terrible as Justice League, but the backstory behind why it's shit just isn't as horrid as the backstory behind Justice League, which is why it gets the slightly higher positioning on the board. Wonder Woman 1984. Okay, so this movie isn't terrible, but by God, what happened here, man? The main issue with this is that the plot is just a total train wreck. Like, for instance, the opening scene is completely unnecessary to the rest of the film. Maxwell Lord is a shit character. Cheetah is a shit character. The second act moves far too slow and has far too little happening that affects the third act. Third act is ridiculous, and finally, Steve Trevor has an enormously large amount of screen time dedicated to him, and it goes absolutely nowhere. He did not need to be in the sequel, and it's clear that he was only brought back because people liked him in the first one. Again, I wouldn't really call this terrible, though it's understandable why others would, but for me, Gal Gadot and Chris Pine are just such charismatic actors that they make this cinematic mess something at least easy to pay attention to. But yeah, bad film. Really bad film. You know, Birds of Prey doesn't really have anything in particular that makes it terrible. It's just all around very forgettable and mediocre. And I don't know, maybe part of the reason why I feel this way is because I just do not give a flying fuck about the character of Harley Quinn, and I hate how DC keeps trying to fucking make me care about her. I think Margot Robbie does a fine job playing her, but she as a character just doesn't do anything for me. But beyond the boring protagonist, there's like nothing about Birds of Prey that makes me go, okay, yeah, alright man, yeah, that's pretty cool. I will definitely watch this again just so I can revisit that specific thing. Nothing stands out, nothing grabs me, and this has just sort of faded in the background more and more as time has gone on. I suppose if I had to find a positive, I like McGregor as Black Mask, kind of, but again, I mean, how often do you hear people talking about how killer of a performance that he gave? This movie has done nothing to lift itself above the rest of the DC films, and I don't see it aging any better as time goes on. Guys, I implore you to ask yourselves a very important question. Is the Snyder Cut a good film, or is it just better than Joss Whedon's Justice League? Because every single review for this film that I have read or watched all start out with,
this was a lot better than Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Like, yeah man, no shit. Much of anything is better than that clown show. Did you think it was going to be worse?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
But does that make it a good film? No, it doesn't. It just makes it better than a shitty one. There's a lot of room between being shitty and being good that we're all seemingly ignoring. A lot of people try to tell me that Cyborg stole the show in this film. Again, did he steal the show, or did he just get a lot more screen time in this one than he did in Joss Whedon's cut? There's a lot wrong with this movie. For one, all the actors are really bad for some reason. Ezra Miller's trying far too hard to do like a weird Peter Parker impression, except he's going far too over the top about it. Ray Fisher has the emotional range of a Disney Channel star. Same with Henry Cavill, which is weird because I actually really liked him in Man of Steel, but since then I feel like for whatever reason his acting abilities have taken a turn for the worse.
Not impressed.
Am I actually watching CW right now? Ben Affleck thinks that just deepening his voice makes him a good actor. And you know, I don't even necessarily blame him for his shitty performance. I understand that he was going through a lot during the filming of this, but by God, he didn't even try to hide it, did he? Gal Gadot is fine, I guess. I'll give her a pass. And Jason Momoa is also kind of fine, I guess, given what his character is. But his character is so fucking stupid that it doesn't even matter anyway. Also, the cinematography for this movie is super gross for some reason, which is weird because I adored the looks of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. I don't know what happened here. Maybe it's because it was unfinished or whatever, but either way, it looks awful. Oh, and the dialogue. Dude, the dialogue is so stupid and cheesy. Even in the film's good parts, Zack Snyder has to like insert this stupid fucking nonsense dialogue just in case his audience of 14-year-old boys are too stupid to follow along.
Just gotta go faster than the speed of light, far beyond the speed of light. You gotta break the rule, Barry, and you gotta do it now. Dad. Whatever happens, I want you to know. Your kid was one of them, Dad. One of the best of the best.
I don't like this movie. The only reason that I rate it better than Birds of Prey is because at least there's some memorable things happening in this, despite Zack Snyder's best efforts to dumb it down for his core fan base of children. I'd rather take something that has some shitty things and some good things than a movie that just all around feels forgettable and mediocre. But yeah, man, I don't like this, and I don't understand why so many people like this. Did you guys just feel bad for like Zack Snyder and wanted to give him like a pat on the back for finally finishing his cut? Like, it's not good. And yes, I am doing the ultimate edition of this. And not because I think it's better, but because so many people pretend that somehow the ultimate edition fixes everything that's wrong with the theatrical cut, and it just doesn't. It doesn't even fix the top 5 things that are wrong with this film. I'll admit, it does fix some things. Some Like one, but it certainly doesn't turn it into a good movie. It just makes it ever so slightly less bad. There's so much wrong with Batman vs. Superman. I'll start with the characters. Everybody except for Batman sucks in this. Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is far too over the top in its portrayal and execution.
And knowledge is power. And I am... no. No, what am I? What was I saying? Thank you for coming.
What the hell is even that?
Superman's stupid little philosophical quest isn't nearly as deep or meaningful as all the children online say that it is. Plus, it doesn't even fucking go anywhere. The story isn't completed. It's just Superman walking around being sad, and then he fights Batman and dies. What the hell was the arc supposed to be? Telling Lois that she was his world? We already knew that! Plus, Henry Cavill sucks at playing the part. Now, granted, I actually really liked Henry in Man of Steel, so I know there's good potential in him. I've seen it.
Next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it. Consider this mercy.
Oh, and how can we forget about this? I'm not even gonna get into why this is so fucking stupid, because the people that defend it are absent of any sound thought or reason. It's like debating with a wall, or the fucking clouds. It's a fruitless endeavor, okay? We all know this scene is dumb as shit, okay? We all fucking know it.
What does that mean? Why did you say that name?
Find him! Save Martha!
Why did you say that name?
However, there is something in here that I really like, and it's Ben Affleck's performance as Batman. I really like everything that's done in this part of the movie. The fact that Batman kills is a whole other video within itself, but the actual performance of Batman and the rage and the anger that's depicted in his character, I adored. It's something that I've wanted to see for a very long time from Batman, and I'm so glad we finally got to see it. Also, the warehouse fight scene, mwah, chef's kisses, man. Overall, I think there's a lot of really bad things in Batman vs. Superman, but Ben Affleck as Batman really saves it from being a total train wreck. It also makes his portrayal in both sequels all the more sad. Dude, are you like okay? Also, why did Zack Snyder turn him into like a faithful monk? He took literally everything that made him cool in this one and then shat on it in the sequels. Whatever, man. Next film. Wonder Woman. I don't have a lot to say about this film. My short thoughts are that I think it's overhyped, overbloated, and overrated. The first two acts are passable, and the last is a shit show, but overall, 2 passable acts and a shit show last act is better than what I could say about more than half of the DCEU filmography, which is why this ranks at number 5, but yeah, I don't think this is good. I never once thought it was good, and I was deeply and profoundly confused back in 2017 as to why this got so much goddamn praise. It was fine at best, but realistically speaking, just bad. Also kind of a ripoff of Captain America: The First Avenger, so... A lot of people dislike this movie, and you know, I understand why, I do, but I actually don't think it's a bad film. Granted, I don't think it's anything to be proud of, don't get me wrong, but on some sort of level, I do find it enjoyable. It's just so tongue-in-cheek and self-aware about how goofy and silly it is.
Permission to come aboard?
Like, come on, man, how can you dislike that? Dude, there's literally an octopus playing the fucking drums. Okay, that's awesome. However, beyond this self-aware tone, the directing is a bit weak. I don't think James Wan thrives in anything action-related. Horror seems to be what he strives at, and he should probably stick to it. I actually think George Miller could make a really cool Aquaman film, given the tone they seem to be going for. He's already expressed interest in making films about DC heroes, and the world/physics of Atlantis could give him a lot of room to harness his cool, creative, wacky energy. The same kind of energy that made Mad Max Fury Road such a success. But overall, I don't think Aquaman is great. In fact, I barely think it's good, but good nonetheless. Alright, dude, finally a good movie that's like actually good. I really like Shazam. I enjoy how, on one end, it's very lighthearted and simple in its nature, about a boy who's forced to take the responsibility of being a superhero and becoming something greater than what he currently is. But on the other, it's like a very serious and surprisingly heartfelt emotional core revolving around Billy and his mom. It's simple, it's well executed, and it's one of DC's better achievements. Though I will say, something that always bothered me is that Billy and his alter ego Shazam Sam act nothing like each other. I'm not quite sure what happened here, but Zachary Levi acts far more goofy and childlike than Asher Angel, who more so toes the line of like an angry, angsty teenage adolescent. It's something that I hope they fix in the sequel. They need to pick a lane and decide which direction to take the character. Both are fine choices, but there needs to be only one, not both at the same time. Yeah, it was really good. I wouldn't say I loved the film, but I had a total blast watching it, and I do think it's something that DC should be proud of making. The only real issues I have with this are, number one, Harley Quinn. Like I said with Birds of Prey, I do not give a shit about her character, and I feel like she was especially forced into this film's plot, probably because the studio made her to be. I feel like if she was completely eliminated from the entire movie, or like died in the first 5 minutes, it really wouldn't make all that much of a difference. The only thing she adds is piercing Starro's eye, and even that is like, do they really need a javelin to open the door for them? I don't know, man. Those rat's teeth look pretty sharp. Or maybe the fucking polka dot man can do it. I don't know. Point is, she really didn't add all too much to the plot, and I found her scenes to just be a bit of a drag compared to the rest of the film. And number two, not really a criticism on the film itself, but just in general, the tone. Now, granted, I do think the self-aware and laid-back nature of the movie works for what it was going for, but overall, I don't think this is a direction that DC should be going for as a whole. I never found DC to shine the most when it was being tongue-in-cheek and silly. It seems like, especially in the comics, where they hit the hardest is with their dark and more gritty storylines and material, and I feel like by crowning this film as their number one best, I'd be making some sort of statement that this is the direction I want to see DC take, and it's just not, which is why my number one DCEU film is Man of... Listen, man, I know this film has problems, okay? I get that. But I also don't think these problems are nearly as detrimental to the overall movie as some people say. It's true, I don't think this particular interpretation of Superman is the best, but I still appreciate what they were going for, which was the intention of humanizing and grounding this godlike being and bringing him down to a level that we can all relate to. Now, do I agree with that sentiment? Not really. I actually think the appeal of Superman is that he isn't relatable. He's better than us. He's what we can all strive to be. And for people who say that something like that can't exist in a modern movie climate today, I completely disagree. I think Marvel did it just about as well as you can with Captain America. Captain America isn't relatable. He's more than that. He's the best of what humanity has to offer. It's sympathy without empathy. We understand where he's coming from, but we can't feel it ourselves because we are flawed. However, with all that being said, I still enjoyed what they were at least trying to go for. I liked being able to relate to such a myth-like man. I liked the humanity behind Superman. I liked what Henry Cavill brought to the character, and I liked watching Superman's set of morals and belief being brought to their logical conclusion.
Never.
In my eyes, this is a very special movie, and this is the direction I wanted to see DCEU go. I wanted every character in their catalog to receive the same kind of treatment that Superman got in this film. I don't love this movie. In fact, I wouldn't say I love any of the DCEU timeline, but of all their films, this is the one that still stands the tallest to me, the one that offered the most, and the one that promised the most, the one that represented what DC could have become if they hadn't jumped the gun so quick in establishing the Justice League. And it's the one that still to this day I consider to be the best of their films. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please consider liking and sharing. It really does help the video. Also, comment your personal ranking of the DCEU. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.